welcome back to Chessometrix. I'm the game Kateryna.
And I'm Fidelmaster Simon Weber, and now we're going to look at Kateryna's Immortal King March that she played in the last tournament in Augsburg. Let's have a look.
So, okay, let's start. We start with the position after Queen b4, and I think it was the end of theory part in French defense. And Sam, what do you think about this position?
Well, I think that Queen b4 was played because Bishop a6 was a strategic threat to trade the bad bishop on c8 against the bishop on f1. So Queen b4 wants to stop this idea because then black would lose a piece. And I think if the queens come off, white has a bit of an advantage because of this bad bishop on c8 and also because of the space in the center, but still black has a very nice resource here that we see in the game now as well.
So, yeah, Queen b4, I think if not play Queen b4, just right, bishop can go on a6, and after trade it's a bit difficult to make castle, yeah? That's why idea is very clear after Queen b4, but I think after Queen b4 it's have to be very nice resource to start directly maybe with g5, yeah?
Yes, yeah, g5 is actually a bit better maybe than taking on b4, because you still keep the option open to take on e5 if white takes on g5. Maybe you can show this.
If
yes,
take on
knight
g5,
takes e5,
knight e5,
and
yes. After queen
d4, knight g6, I would say.
And there is no center. That's actually very good for black,
yes.
I think, yes. And after knight e5, if take on e5, take just with a pawn.
I think this is the best where you can actually use the b file for the rook. And the knight on a4 is a bit misplaced. Knight c5 also, the king can come in the center, maybe king e7, king d6 and so on. And it's a balanced endgame, but both sides have chances, I think. But black is very happy because he has the center, and it's also in your style, I guess, yeah, like
yes,
to play dynamic.
Yes, in the game, I think I made firstly trade on b4 and then b5, but in this case, I think that's Carmen find nice idea with bishop b5. And actually, maybe one question for our audience: if take on e4, what can happen? So you can stop our video for some seconds. I think it's not so difficult tactics idea. Well, okay, after take on e4, actually you're right, if you see the next continuation, just take on b6, and problem that the pawn cannot take on b6 because rook take on a8, yeah? So that's why after bishop b5, that's a bit problem with the spin. That's why I need something to do, and of course king e7, I think very logical, normal move, yeah? And in this position, after take on g5, I think rook b8, I need some time just to lose the problem with this rook and knight. That's why I need some time rook b8. And that's why Carmen make this time just straight on d7, and after b3, of course, she needs some time, bring the knight into the game, yes? And I think, of course, I try attack for this g line with my rooks, but after h4, h6, actually, of course, the white not give me this counterplay, yes, sure. And after h6, Carmen make very good, she played g4, and after take on g5, she just closed the position for my rooks.
Yes, can I stop a bit and show something? I would like to show that this position is actually quite interesting. Yeah, b3, as you said, has to be played, the knight has to come into play. And we have this typical situation where white has, if he gets the knight to d4, the good knight against bishop, bad bishop scenario in the French, where white would dominate and probably has even close to winning advantage. And it's quite important here to understand, like Katya tried to play very dynamic, it's of course correct, you need to open up this bishop, you need to try to play with h6, but I think it's quite instructive that you should really immediately give this pawn, immediately try to use your rooks and target this e5 pawn. Because if you get the center, I think then black has chances, the pawns will roll later, the bishop is strong on both flanks, and still this knight is misplaced now. So this is maybe dynamically equal, I'm not sure. But what you did in the game is also very interesting. but g4 was a strong move, I guess.
Yes, I think g4 was a very correct move, and the problem, of course, one more time repeats that after h5, white actually closed the position and black have no further play. Yeah, that's the problem. That's why next move also very logical. I just need ruin the center pawn e5, and after take king f6, and of course my plan is move e5 and get some center position, open bishop. Yes, that's the idea.
But if I can interrupt. If we see this position, and we told in the beginning that this will be an immortal king march and an immortal game for me, that this position looks quite nice for white. He has the control, she has the control pawn on h5, the knight will come in the center, bishop on d7 is not good. And now you found a brilliant way of creating counterplay, and we can also thank Carmen for her willingness to go for a win, because she could have made a perpetual, I guess, at some point, but she wanted to win, and that's why this beautiful game has happened. And now let's see how Katya tried to complicate matters, and then we will see the beautiful finish.
No, so after f6, the game continue like take on f6, and I think since next moves quite logical. Knight comes
b2.
To b2, knight d3, and of course I have to protect a7 pawn with back my rook on a8, and of course castle with checks is everything like objectively normal moves, yeah. And then after knight d3, of course, I understand that if knight at some point goes on e5, my position was completely dead, yeah? So that's why I have to play bishop b5 to stop at least for some time moves, yeah, with the knight. And of course, I saw the idea c4, but in my intuition part, I understand that if I just take two pawns and just give quality, still I have complications on the board. That's why I would like to get this line. If I not play bishop b5, yeah, one more time, position is just losing for black strategically, and of course I understand this during the game, yeah. So that's why
maybe I can show one line.
Yes, of course.
It's quite nice. You said everything correctly. I think that this is completely horrible strategically, because the knight comes to e5 and you have the protected pass pawn, very dangerous, and okay, this bishop is terrible. After bishop e5, then c4 is very strong, still this pawn is weak, and I think this is objectively a winning position. And also practically, I think no counter chances for black. So, as you said, knight d3, bishop e5 was very nice, and you got your chances. But I was very interested when I followed this broadcast online, what happens after rook e1, because I thought knight will come anyway. You go out of this pin, and you pressure the e-file, and also this rook still has pressure on a7. So I thought this could be a very nice try for white. But it turns out that, I'm not sure what you thought here, but it turns out that there's a very amazing way of holding the game. I'm not sure if you saw that, but...
Maybe during the game, I just have some attempt to play this line. After rook e1, I think e5, yeah, quite nice, because we don't need to give this time for the knight, yeah, on e5, that's why e5. And problem now is that if not take on e5, for example, knight d3, black have some time to push e4. That's why now position can be better for black, yeah, because the pawn's extremely good, yeah. And of course, after rook e5, king goes on d6, and after rook g5 can be rook g8. Problem that white cannot hold these two pawns on ag and h line.
The very nice thing is that you should really value this principle that in such a strategically bad position with this bishop, you need active pieces. So you would have played e5 just to give all these pawns. You soon 3 pawns down, let's say here, for one moment you're 3 pawns down, but you will win 2 of them back, and then you have at least enough counterplay to target these pawns. You have the bishop against knight, which is still a bit misplaced, and you have a centralized king. And I think you probably will hold this endgame after, let's say, rook h4. You have some threats.
I think it's possible. Yeah, it's enough. Can be counterplay. Yeah, at some point. Yeah, but in the game, I think move knight d3 was only made on the board because one more time, because the plan after bishop b5 very strong idea, and actually I think during the game the white thought that it have to be winning because the black king now have not enough space where to go. It's only king d6, and I think that after king d6, if just normally take equality, without some other motives, just to win equality up, I think this position not so easy to win, because the black have free pawn on b3, have equality, and I think king also can be active in this position. That's why.
Also, if I can show one line.
Yes.
If you take on h8, if you take here, white still wins the quality because of this check, but I think that now after a5, also the black pawns are rolling. So it's not it's completely unclear, right, what is going on here.
Yes,
so
the piece on the board, but still the pawns
are very far advanced. It's not that simple for white even. So yeah, maybe you're right that taking this quality is not that clear. So of course,
Carmen found next solution, some check on rook d1, and I think these moves really make big complications on the position. And of course, black king have only two squares, king on c6, king on c7. So one more time, you can stop our video and just a bit have a look on this position. Choose one of this move, king c6 or king c7.
And also try to find the follow-up. You have to probably think 10 to 15 minutes to find the beautiful follow-up that Katja found. And just try to find a solution.
So, okay. I think you did the stop of the video, and we can continue also. Well, I start with some bad move. If you choose king c7, well, it can be lose directly after rook f7. Why? Because after king c6 suddenly come mate. Knight in one, And the problem when the king goes on b8, just without a rook, and it's nothing for the black, because next move can be just mate, So, okay, in the game, of course, king c6 only one way, and I think if now check on e5, the black king can go this direction, and after check king a6, interesting, but after rook e1, I can give a bishop on a4 and king b5, and still black without a piece, but I think it have to be some counterplay because of this b3 pawn. If rook away, I think also possible just take king b4,
a5.
Yes, and rook c8, b2, a5, and even if check with some knight d3, king c3, and still we see that the king very brave, just go to the position, with the pawn. So
I think I think
even
after rook f7 you can go king a6. This bishop a4 is a very instructive motive. It's very complicated. I'm not sure what the engine says, but it's practically very interesting. But you can even go to b8. It's quite funny because this bishop now, as we usually know, dominates the knight.
Yes.
And funnily enough, there's no way for white now to create a mate because the rook is still protecting the background. And this rook, it looks like freestyle chess, is ready to push this a pawn. And then, who knows? This b pawn will promote maybe. So actually king b8 is very interesting. King a6 is very interesting. But Carmen played rook c1 check.
Rook c1, and I think, of course, in this position after king b7 make more sense, make now check and just take firstly quality, for example, and then continue with some check. That's why, of course, rook c1 at some point a very, very clear logical move, but suddenly it comes. I
think now your brilliancy comes.
Now
it looks like, for me, at least as a spectator, I looked the game without engine here, and I was like biting my nails and thinking, oh my God, she gets mated.
Sam, in this moment, not only you biting nails, I can say I also did the same. King d5, and in this moment, many of our audience can say, what's going on? Why king goes in the center? We know from the rules of the chess, when king goes under some two rooks and knight and so many pieces, it can be just mated, and maybe our audience will have right decision. But interesting, after some checks with the rook king e4, suddenly it's no mate. Yes, of course, rook d6, it's very dangerous position, but still the black can cope.
But I think I want to show one thing. That's exactly what I meant with Carmen willing to win, because I think here she could try to repeat moves. And I think you have to do this, because if you now go up the board, I think that white can somehow, let's say, first of all,
create some mating
net, but also just take this pawn, and black has not so much counterplay left. But after rook d6, it turns out actually that you found a very
Well,
interesting way.
after rook d6, also I understood that the problem in position for black actually is the first rook under attack, firstly, and the king also needs some maybe protector. That's why rook d8. Also, I would like change one of the pieces, and after rook e1, some of them check, king f3, I still not saw the mate. That's why, for example, line after knight e5, king e3, at some point, well, rook e3, it's not still a mate. Of course, I can king e4 play.
And actually, it's a triple attack.
And triple, yeah, yes.
Everything is hanging.
Yeah, suddenly the king starts very active piece, yeah. When king not under mate, the king also can create some active ideas, yeah. No, okay, that's why after king f3, knight e5 check was in the game, rook e6, and it's like in the air, some like a mate, yeah. But next move comes, I think it's very nice, interesting idea, because at some point I understand if I not get mated, maybe I can mate. That's why next move, bishop e2. Well, I stop some checks, I stopped some ideas. Of course, rook e2, rook d1, and suddenly mate for the white king, and my king is completely nice piece now on g3. And I'm not sure if the white can find something else now not to lose this game, because now bishop also get this direction, protect the queen. I have some free pawn, and I think the king still have a very many threats to the white king.
Yeah, I think bishop e2 is the finishing touch. It threatens also rook d1 and trading rooks, and then b2. But there were other winning moves, I think, but bishop e2 is just very, very nice and also stops all of the ideas from white side, especially this rook e3 and some rook f3 mate ideas. And it really shows again how strong the bishop and the active king in endgame. That's, I think, what you've learned from this game, that activity in endgames, especially king's activity, matters so much. And the bishop also dominating the knight now. And I think the rest of the game is just to show that, yeah, the king, it's quite an irony that in the end you mated her with your active king. It was these moves, check,
Yes.
and now, of course, rook f8 is forced. And now very nice move, rook f6. You brought this rook into game, and also the other rook can join for some mating attack. And this king is still active. Yeah, threatening mate here. So rook g2, king f4 takes. And now Carmen resigned because, yeah, next moves here, this is a mate. Or here the same. Yeah, like this, right? And okay, if she goes to the h file, then I think rook c1.
Rook c1 also, and rook h6
rook
everywhere.
h6.
That's
so.
Yes.
The irony is really that this king was almost getting mated here all the time, and at the end, really, your king was so active that actually white was in mating danger, right? So this was, I think, an immortal king march that we've seen from Katya. Thank you for that. And
the game was very interesting, yeah. And when the king just go on d5, never knows. And I also not think ahead like for 5-10 moves, yeah. That was like by intuitive, by touch. I understood that's only one way with my king to survive. It was firstly like this, yes, and then move by move, I not saw the mate, and I have some deeply feeling that it have to be okay. Just go with the king in the center.
Great. Then if you like this video, please follow us and stay with us, and see you next time. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.